I'd like to cover some thoughts I have on lighting, some hacks, considerations with switches, and other projects that I may have coming up in the future, in our house at least. So right now we're in our master bedroom. I'll try not to pan around too much and make my wife angry. But we're going to go over replacing this switch, which controls our fan and our light in this room. If you can see the flicker, and I hope you just did, because that's one of the points I want to get to. We're not going to go in detail about how to replace a light switch. There are at least a million videos online on how to do that. But more, I want to talk to you about considerations that come up in my head, and maybe how improvements can be done. So first of all, as I said, this is a switch that controls our main ceiling light in the bedroom, along with the fan. Now, so this is just your typical slider. You can see that the labels have kind of worn off, and I don't know if anyone has these before, but you may experience that these plastic little tabs come off, or you're setting the fan and you don't necessarily know what notch you're on. And it's not a huge problem, right? It's easy that you can just sit here and monkey around with this. But I'll also say that for the light switch, so while it slides, into place, we generally don't need to dim it. Obviously, it offers dimming, but usually if we're utilizing this light, we just want the light on, and so no need to slide it up and down, I guess. So other considerations to think about, and I'm no expert, so don't take my word for it. Do your own research. But there has been obviously a surge in different lighting options today, especially with bulbs, mainly being LEDs. So LEDs started coming out. Yes, they're very eco-friendly. They use very little power for the light they provide, which is awesome, and reasons why I'd recommend them. But we started off with ones that would flicker, or they would hum, or they just prematurely die. Obviously people had to do a lot of different enhancements to these bulbs to make sure that they worked better for our homes, which the incandescents have been doing for a very long time. They're very simple. Give it power, lights up. But a lot of people's switches haven't caught up in their houses. So you may have a switch in your house that, is hooked up to a light that has an LED in it. It may not be made for it, and that could be a potential safety risk or create a fire for you. I don't know how severe of a risk it is, but for example, I've had switches in my house and past homes where if you hook up LED lights, you'll have bulbs that aren't supposed to flicker that do, or you'll hear buzzing inside the box, or maybe this is even a little warmer than it used to be. So you want to be careful, not only with the bulbs you're using and the light fixture itself, but the switch. I think you'll always usually want to look and see if it's UL listed, and then the specs for that particular switch. So for example, what we're going to be replacing with is a Lutron. This is a dimmer for the fan and light. So much like this, but it does have CL technology. So what that means is CFLs and LEDs, CL technology. And so it's made for those. Now it does still do incandescents, halogen bulbs, but it is built in a way that can handle those other types of light sources. So hopefully you're getting a clean flow of energy there. It's dimming properly, turning on properly, and hopefully nothing's getting messed up in the process. So that's what we're going to replace it with. I will say, unfortunately, these things are not cheap. This could have been $50 a pop. But I think this is going to be a safer, better alternative. So I'll just tell you some of the things that I'm experiencing, and I could even do a shot in one of our kids' rooms. So sometimes there is popping in here. You dial it in, you'll hear humming, popping. It's almost like electricity is just trying to make a connection. I don't like the process of the electrodes in here and how they're sliding onto each other to determine how much voltage goes to that fan and light. So I don't like that. When I use incandescent bulbs, I hear humming until at least you get to the full brightness. Anything in between full bright and basically off, there's a hum. Sometimes there's no way around this with LEDs or incandescents. It depends on the source, the fixture, other loads on the circuit. Again, no expert, but I've just seen it in a variety of different ways, right? So incandescents, I have the humming. When I put in LEDs, I get the flicker, and I think the flicker even drives me more nuts when you're in the room. and everything's flashing. It seems that, again, it's mostly on your way up in the dim modes. Usually it doesn't happen at full brightness, but sometimes it does. Again, I don't know if there's probably something to do with this type of switch. Maybe it's not rated for LEDs. It could be the cheapness, but it's not desirable. Talking about different lighting, I hate LEDs. Literally, I don't know if I have something else. I don't even know if there's a term for it, but things that make weird noises or static in the background, lights that aren't appealing to the eye, they just drive me nuts. I like the concept of LEDs. I think they're useful in vehicles, campers where you need low voltage pole, but you still want that brightness. But I don't like them on the inside of homes. And I know we're getting better. And if we continue getting better, that is a move I'll make to go more LED. So for example, sometimes I go in a home and everything just has this weird yellow cast to it. And it's usually, they're using those LEDs in the 2700 range. Sometimes they look like these guys with those filaments. I think these are the new, no flicker models. I have a bunch of other ones. Cree's a great brand, but I still don't like the temperature color of this. So you guys have seen all these different LEDs that are on the market. But yeah, either the house is just too yellow, too unnatural, not pleasing to the eye, and the colors in the room, they all look jacked. I can't stand it. On the other end of the spectrum, you'll have lights that are in that 5,000 K range. So when I'm saying 2,700 range to 5,000, 2,700, 23, that's getting towards like your warmer, yellowish tungsten region of lighting. 5,000, much more closer to daylight. So with the daylight bulbs, sometimes they're just too white or even too blue. So I know streets around where I live, you go down a court with nice homes, and you have everyone's lights on their porch and their garage, and they're using incandescent bulbs, and there's just a warmth to the neighborhood. It's beautiful. And then there's the one house that has the really blue LEDs, and it totally doesn't match the area, and just gives a weird feel. Maybe a little too sterile or hospital feeling. I don't know how to describe it, but I don't like how they stand out. I know there's a lot of studies on LEDs, and do they harm your eyes and your retinas, and does the blue light affect you? I'm not here to make a stance one way or another. I get a little weird on that stuff, so I play on the safer side when I can. But where I do like LED lighting is in the garage or the basement, where I just want a brighter daylight color for working on things or projects. That's fine for me. So in our main living areas, we generally have can lights in the top. So for the kitchen, living room, and those are running halogen lights. So I think those are even a little bit more efficient than incandescents, provide more light, and have a better longevity to them. So maybe it's a bridge between incandescents and LEDs, but I still have the natural lighting that I like, and that kind of that color space in the area. In future projects, I'll go over some of the other lighting things we're looking at in the house. One of them are these, so again by Lutron, it's called a Pico Remote. And this one comes with a little box that you put in your outlet. And what you can do is you can plug a lamp on either side, so you can do up to 2 lamps, and you use that little remote, and you can control basically that socket. So we have smart switches in our house already. One hack that I think is a great idea, or that outlet, is you plug it in, connect it to your smartphone, and then you can plug your Christmas tree into it. So maybe you're on Apple and you're using HomeKit, you can automate it to say, every night at 8 o'clock, turn on the Christmas tree. Or in my case, when I walk in the house, I hit a button on my phone, so it's not on when I'm gone, fire hazards, yada yada, and then it just turns on the tree. I don't have to climb back there, with all the needles falling off, put in the plug. I know they make the little step units, but I love the use of a smart plug for that. So again, in future videos, we can talk about other light switches and kind of hacks. One other example that I'm really excited for is our kitchen. So, let's say I'm done with work, I pick up the kids from daycare, come home. I know this shouldn't be a major problem, right? But I walk in and there's about 8 light switches I need to turn on to get our kitchen lights on, kind of our side eating area lights on, the living room lights on, kind of the main area our family's going to be the rest of the night. So I'm walking in a circle, and they all have their own dimming capability too. So I got to individually set each one, and then what happens at the end of the night, you got to turn them all off. So I walk in a circle and turn them all off. Now, I'd much rather be doing that than walking around lighting candles and replace them, every 20 hours. I get it. We're at a good place in history where we have these kind of things where I can just do it by a light switch. But hey, we got the technology. Things are moving forward. How can we improve upon it? So one concept I've been playing with is, again, with the Lutron products. It's called Caseta. So it's a wireless smart switch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those in all of the outlets and tie it to one main remote that is mounted to the wall that I can dim or increase the lighting for all lights all at once. Even have a button for a favorite setting. So maybe 50%. I want every light to turn on at 50%. And that's generally what I do anyway with the sliders. So I can hit a button, it turns them all on, and hit one button, it turns them all off. And again, since it's a smart switch, you can connect it to your HomeKit or if you're using Google and do it maybe by automated command, every day at this time, turn it on or off. Do some tricks, to make it look like you're home when you're not, with turning random lights on, or just simply, take your phone or tell Siri, turn off kitchen, and all 8 lights go off at the same time instead of, one by one by one. I'm probably not going to get too hung up on the automation or doing things with my phone, but just being able to hit one button to bring up the whole, basically that whole side of the house on and off, that's something I look forward to. But this one, I don't need that automation. I don't need to be able to do it from my phone. If I want to turn it off or on, I'll crawl out of bed and get my butt over here. But at least we can improve on this switch. So now we're going to get to the install. So first step I do is turn on the light. This is just for me to know that when I cut the power and I come back and I see that light is off, that's just one more sign that I did indeed cut the power. Obviously, I got to tell people, hey, don't turn off the light switch. But that is not it. That is not the safe way to do it. Just one more step, and I'll get to the others in a sec. All right, so we're in the basement, and we need to turn off, looks like master bath and bed. This is number 12. And we have these little numbers over here that show us which one. So we'll hit 12. Hopefully it does the trick. All right, so we're back from the basement, and we just turned the power off, as you saw, to the master bedroom. But let me show you, the light is still on. Now I want to again say anything related to installs here, electricity, don't hold me liable, don't listen to me. Have a professional do it or do a lot of research. I don't want your house burned down because of me. But just to show you, and I'm glad I did it, but of course I would have followed it with a bunch of other tests that I'm going to show you shortly. I turned off the power, I came up, and the light was still on. So obviously that breaker was mislabeled and I need to turn something else off, or there's a couple that control this area. So in our master bedroom, my master bath, and all those lights don't work anymore. The outlets are dead. So it turned off half of the room, but there's still more to it. So now I got to go back down and see if there's anything else I can finagle to make sure we cut power to this room. All right, so that did not do it all. We're going to have to look. So there is no other upstairs bedroom thing that I see. So I'm just going to do a few now. The family room is below our bedroom. So I'll hit that. And then we have general lights 8. Okay, that killed the light that I'm on right now. And we have general lights 14. So we're going to see if that did it. I don't know. Yeah, basically, I'm going all the way downstairs and then to our second story. So, I don't want to do the stairs 50 million times. So that's why we're just going to do a couple and hope that we got it. All right. We did it. No more electricity. All right, so we got the camera back on the stand. So as I showed you, the switch no longer does anything with the light. So I came in, it was on before, it's off, but who knows if someone hit the switch, but we're good. I'll also say I use other tools to make sure that we're clear as well. So you guys may have seen some of these. So this one basically will tell me if I put this tip next to a hot lead anywhere, it'll start buzzing and it'll light up and tell me if there's something I need to worry about, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment. So when I take this off, I'll touch this near the wires and terminals to make sure that there's no juice flowing. You also can get something like this. It'll say if there's 110 or 240 power going through, or 220, I'm sorry. Double of 110 is 220. And it's got these little leads here, so you can connect them to the wires, see if any power is going through. You also can put this in an outlet. So if you hook this up in an outlet, it'll glow if there's power going through. And lastly, if you've ever seen one of these, I'll try to get that in focus. But it's got these little lights on the bottom and then a diagram. And so what that'll do, if there's an open ground, open neutral, open hot, if you have wires reversed, this will tell you the story. This is good to tell you, there's a correct setting as well. So if you see 2 yellow lights and you plug that in, that means that everything is correct. I'm assuming that if you plug this in, there was no power, it wouldn't light up at all. But I use 2 or 3 different ways to check that there's no juice. But I guess the old switch and doing multiple switches if nothing goes on, that's probably a safe bet too. But I triple, quadruple all my methods just because, again, I don't want to get shocked. So if I can make a tool recommendation, in the basement, the tool chest, I have a whole set of screwdrivers, Phillips, standard. One nice one to keep upstairs is one with multiple bits. If you need Phillips or flathead, it's all built in one device. I actually keep one of these in the truck too, so you don't have to have multiple screwdrivers, but you get all the different bits. I don't know if you can see that. It's just really handy. They magnetically stick in there, and it's not bad quality. So we're going to take the plate off. So now we have the actual outlet. I'm going to move the Phillips because now we have some Phillips screws. Super handy. Okay, and now that we have the screws out, we can pull the unit. And with these, you'll see that there's 4 wires. There's definitely going to be one that's specific to the fan and one to the light. So you want to make sure you know which ones is which. I'm sure, there's probably times you can trust color coding, but there's times that you can't. So you want to make sure, you kind of inspect things before. One point I'll say right now is that this is the time where I'll take my tester and we're going to start going in here, making sure, there's no power going through and it is safe. All right, so now we're going to open up our new light switch. And they can't, I was working at this before I had to run downstairs. They couldn't make it any more childproof, this plastic. Everything needs to be that way. Why? All right, so now we're ready to change this out. And luckily, I think this is gonna be pretty simple. I've done a couple dozen light switches, just normal on-off switches, but never one of these before, but it's not any more complicated, at least if you're given something that isn't too far out there. This is already a Lutron switch itself, and what I've learned is yellow, and they have a diagram on the back of this, and there are obviously instructions for the new one, and everything's matching up. So yellow's for the fan, red is for the light, the black is your hot wire, and of course green is your ground. So I should be able to just do a direct replacement, I guess, using this unit. The only difference is there's no black wire on here. They have a screw terminal right here, so that's where I'll put the hot line. And then yellow for the fan, red for the light, and green for the ground. So I'll do that now. All right, so I'm gonna take this off. I know this black one is the fan. It was attached to the yellow one. I'm putting it way over here. If I forget, I'll just rewind this video. But that's for our fan. Red is for the light. I'm gonna set that down so I have open more hands. So red is the light. All right, sometimes you need a set of pliers to unwind the previous wiring, and you're gonna use them again anyway to wind the wires back up. Of course, my son took my proper set of pliers. Who knows where that is? All right, so we got the old unit off, no problem. So black on left was fan, red is white, this black is the hot, and we have our ground. So now we will just redo the process backwards with the new unit and all of our wing nuts. So right now I'm giving the hot just a little curl with the wire. So this one isn't going to use a wing nut. As I said earlier, it's going to go to that screw terminal on the switch right here on the side. So you want to make sure that that goes on looping around clockwise, because we're going to turn the screw to tighten that. And so I want that to be facing the right direction so it really snugs on there nicely. All right, you obviously want to make sure everything's nice and snug in here. You don't want this coming apart, on you in the future and causing issues back behind the wall where you can't see it. All right, now we'll do the ground. And when I put on wing nuts, I always give it a little tug at the end just to make sure that it's on there, that isn't going to hurt anything. You want to discover that now rather than later. So I give it a little tug, make sure it's on there tight. Okay, so we'll wire on the light, the fan, little tug, make sure it's on there. We're good to go. Now the fun always with these is, you get into these nice switches, and especially the smart switches and everything, the backs on these, they get so bulky, and I have all these wire nuts that I have to shove in there. So this can be a little tedious, making sure that everything fits and you're not crushing something. All right, so now we're screwing it on. I like to make sure that I can push it all the way back without interference before sucking on these screws, because you may not be able to tell that you're actually doing damage, because it's much easier to turn these screws and get that to seat down properly. So again, push it down, make sure it goes, and then you can do the screws. And you'll have these little slots where you can put the screws, do fine adjustments later. You want to make sure you don't do the top ones, because that's where generally the faceplate goes. One other note, I did check, I looked, I just did a poor job of it, but you want to make sure that your light is the right side up, right? On this one, the light's on top, fan's on the bottom. I thought I looked, and I did. I misinterpreted it, so just make sure whatever switch you're doing, make sure the on's on the proper, on the top of the switch, the off's on the bottom, whatever your configuration is. I goofed it, and I had to redo all this. So now I'm just doing the final tightening. I'll tell you as well that you see these little metal fins on the side of the light switch. I've read that those help dissipate heat and is actually good for the light switch. Now, they're not necessary. And again, don't take that as, rule. I just, something I read. But you will have to take these off if you have a big gang of switches next to each other and, one's by the other one. Then you'll have to remove one or both sides and make sure that those all fit in a line. So there is a reason. You just take a pliers and they snap right off. Being a single switch right here, we don't need to worry about that. All right, and it's complete. So we could put the old faceplate back on. I did pick up one that's just a little cleaner look. It doesn't show the screws. Ideally it'd be nice if these matched. So I just may replace this one in the future, just so it looks good. But yeah, they're a few bucks, so I kind of like the clean look, so we're gonna do that. So what I believe is this comes apart. Let's see if we can do this. All right, so we got our first piece. We'll put that over the switch. It's already got the screws in place for us, so we'll just quick zip those on. Do the second screw. And then this piece should just snap on, so they say. How clean does that look? All right, let's turn on the power and see how she does. All right, give me power. I like to do one at a time so I don't, surge too many things at once. I'm sure it's not a big deal, but I do it. All right, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I already know that it works because I walked in the room and everything was on. I will point out that on a fresh install, they'll actually tell you to make sure that, if you, let's say you have pull chains on your ceiling fan and light, make sure that it's on the highest setting for the fan and that the light is turned on. I already knew that everything was operational via the old switch, so I knew the chains were in the proper position. But for whatever reason, they want to make sure that you have the settings, kind of opened up, I guess, on your fan when you connect this. So now let's give it a whirl. So I can hit the light, and I don't know if you could visualize it or see it on screen, but it actually dims the light up, and then if I hit the switch, it'll dim it down. And it's kind of a gentle, cool effect, and you can see the LED kind of moving on the side here. If I turn the light on, I can hit these little rockers on the side. So if I want to tap it or hold it, I can dim, or I can brighten. And then it's going to keep my last setting. So I can walk into the room, hit the button, and it's going to be exactly where I want it every single time, which usually 95% of the time is just give me full power. If we're doing other lighting, at night for iPads reading, we'll do some other dimmer stuff, on our nightstands. But, when you come in here to fold laundry, this and that, you kind of want your full light. So it's nice to have the option. With the fan, you click it, and again, goes to your last setting. So generally, we're on low, medium, low. We don't need something crazy loud at night. But you can hit the rocker, and it will go to the other settings. I will tell you, and I didn't know this, but the light, when you click it up and down, you can hear it rocking in there, maybe switching, whatever it does for allowing the voltage to go to the device. So it'll click up and down, but it doesn't matter to me. I just want to be able to hit a switch now and go to the same setting every single time if I want to use the fan. So I think we are set to go. I'll turn the camera around and show you what it looks like. All right, turn on the light to full power. And turn it off. Look at how it dims. Turn on the fan. Click at the high. And turn it off. A side note for you guys looking at bulbs, I'll turn that on. I love these GE reveals. Check that out. Awesome clear light. So these are incandescents, but I really love to look at them. The bulbs have like a blue tint on the glass. I don't know if that does anything, but these are my favorite. I have hundreds of packs of them. But when it does come to LEDs, and dimmable, no flicker, no hum ones, these Philips are not bad. So you got some crazy looking filaments in there. This is what that case looks like. So again, they have the ones that are more daylight, the ones that are more yellow. I wish they made a bulb that was more in the middle, and they're hard to find. I have some in the basement because sometimes it's just too white, too blue, or too yellow. I wish they came more in the middle. I don't know why it's always the two extremes. You go to Home Depot and it's always one or the other, but not much in the middle. I don't know if it's harder to produce or what, but if you're listening, that's what I want. One final note for you guys, and trust me, it looks a lot brighter on the video, at least on my screen, than maybe what you're seeing. But even with everything off, you get these little LEDs that kind of show you the light itself. I don't know if they go off after a while, but they are there, but just not as bright when they're normally on. So I think that's good because, if you need to know where the light switch is at night, this is going to make it much easier to find it, even though I'm sure your muscle memory's fine enough where you know where the switch is. But it is a consideration, especially this being our bedroom. I was worried, oh wow, is this gonna be too bright at night? I don't like any lights in the bedroom. I want it pitch black with the room darkening shades. Just for better sleep. I did kind of sit back and look at these, and even from an angle, it looks like it really takes away that effect. But just a consideration, if you don't want any lights in your kitchen or bedroom or wherever the case may be, maybe go with a different product. But if you like that and being able to see the switch and easily identify where the buttons are, that is cool. But it doesn't look like it's going to affect being able to sleep at night and have anything shining in the bedroom, that's going to be too annoying. So I think we're good there, but I just wanted to make sure I pointed it out. Side note number 3, here's my kids' room. Hear that pop that was in there? Hear that buzz? Anyway, I don't know if you're picking it up, but the popping in here, sometimes you'll see a little flash in there and you'll hear buzzing. As you can see, this knob came off. I just don't like the design. Makes me question its safety over time, but again, just point it out. All right, so I hope that helped with any inspiration. We had mostly wins, 1 loss. My experience still stands. Incandescent bulbs on any dimmer it seems, you'll always get some sort of hum, unless it's in a lamp or a fixture where it can just always get full power. Even, going full setting on dimmer, you can get a very light hum, which I don't like. I don't like the look of LEDs either, but this is a light that doesn't have a lot of hours on it for our usage, just to quick do things. Our main lighting, again, downstairs, halogen, so I'm fine that it's LED. There's still a good light in here. They're not bad bulbs, and we'll go from there, but no more flicker. The flicker's gone. The usability on this light switch is much easier for turning on and off and jumping right to the settings we want for the fan. And just be able to hit a button now for the light instead of doing all these rockers that fall off and buzz. I'm glad that's gone. So hope this was good. Till next time.